Welcome to Municipal Affairs. Last month, over 2,000 municipal leaders from across the country gathered in Ottawa for the annual Federation of Canadian Municipalities Tradeshow and Convention. It was a powerful reminder of how vital local leadership is to the strength and resilience of our municipalities. From coast to coast to coast, mayors, reeves, councillors, and other municipal officials convened to address the urgent and complex issues shaping life in every corner of Canada. Now, the agenda was nothing short of ambitious, with passionate calls for bail reform, urgent pleas for stable and predictable federal funding, and difficult but necessary conversations around mental health and addictions, and the growing threat of misinformation in our digital age. The issues may be national, but the impacts are deeply local, and it is clear that the leaders in the room were ready to tackle them head on. But for one attendee, this year's convention came with a particularly personal milestone. Just last month, the Northwest Territories elected Yellowknife's then Mayor, Rebecca Alty, to the House of Commons. Her resignation left big shoes to fill, and Yellowknife Council turned to a familiar face. Councillor Ben Hendrickson was selected to step into the role of mayor, becoming Canada's newest capital city mayor. And just weeks into the job, Mayor Hendrickson made his way to Ottawa for his first FCM convention as mayor, not just as a delegate, but as a city leader among his peers. Now, we sat down with Mayor Hendrickson to hear about his unexpected rise to the mayor's seat, what the new role means for him and for Yellowknife, and what it's like stepping into the national spotlight at the country's largest municipal gathering. Mayor Henderson, thank you so much for sitting down with me and chatting about yourself, but also the reason why you're here at FCM.
Yeah.
What brings the city of Yellowknife and the newly appointed mayor of Yellowknife to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in Ottawa?
I was registered to come before becoming the newly appointed mayor for Yellowknife. Now that our former mayor is, the new Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations, which is fantastic. Was planning on coming to FCM anyway because I was deputy mayor prior to Rebecca's election. Yellowknife, for the capital city of the Northwest Territories, it's important to be at events like this, to be talking to colleagues from across the country, and to be part of the important conversations at FCM.
And what are the important conversations that are important to the people of Yellowknife that you're hearing here in Ottawa?
What isn't the same across the country? Housing and infrastructure.
What?
Right? What? Exactly. It's it's the same conversations, the impact of climate change, housing, infrastructure, important investments from when we look at the north, but you see it across a lot of Western Canada, Northern Ontario, looking at the future of mineral mining and sort of the next stages of that. And, the Prime Minister was here yesterday giving a keynote address, talking about all of those sorts of things. So, the conversation is right at this point in the tone from the federal government. So look forward to seeing that next step and the action that comes from it.
You have a unique relationship with your now MP, Rebecca,
sure do,
the
yeah.
Honourable Rebecca Alty, I
She is
should say.
indeed, yeah.
How do you see that relationship evolving over the next year and a half until the next council elections in 2026? Because you have a lot of work to do. I was just up in Yellowknife earlier this year, and I heard from people that housing is a big priority. She's worked it, she's lived it for her term as mayor. What are you hoping to get from that relationship with the new Minister of Crown Services, Indigenous Relations?
Well, one thing is I'm a pretty practical person, so I don't expect that just because Rebecca is now the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations that Yellowknife will get any special treatment. What I do hope that comes from that relationship is, and what I know will come from that relationship is, as the former mayor of Yellowknife now, it's somebody at Cabinet who actually understands the North, who gets the complexities of the additional infrastructure challenges, the additional costs that come with that. The fact that when we look at some of the national nation building infrastructure challenges and opportunities we have in the North, whether from a sovereignty perspective in terms of national defense investments, whether we look at sovereignty investments in critical mineral mining and the opportunity that comes from a potential Grays Bay port in Nunavut and sort of that the slave geological corridor that comes from that, and all of those different pieces that often when you talk to people in Southern Canada, they're just words that maybe they've heard, whereas now we have a minister at the table, and in fairness, not just Rebecca either. There's other ministers from Northern Manitoba, Northern Alberta, Northern Saskatchewan, who also get the North, and a Prime Minister who was born in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. So people who actually understand what the North is and the opportunities that lie there, but also the real infrastructure pieces that are required. One of which, like everywhere else, has housing challenges. But in order for us in Yellowknife to be able to take advantage of those opportunities, we do need that, external government investment in housing and the support to bring trades up to get those houses built.
One of the big things that I heard up in the Northwest Territories when I was there was housing, but also mental health and addiction, especially in smaller rural communities, but also in Yellowknife. I spoke to one of your councillors there, and there is a big push here at FCM this time for mental health and addiction funding, increase in mental health and addiction funding. What would an increase in that funding mean for the city of Yellowknife?
Well, I mean, when it comes to the North, yeah, obviously there's, just like a lot of places in the country, I think, again, oftentimes we sort of conflate that the North is always unique and distinct. Yeah. These are challenges that are being faced everywhere in the country. The additional challenge we have in the North is that the services are all based in Yellowknife. So people rightly and understandably come to Yellowknife for those services, and then they, for lots of different reasons, may not return home to their home communities. And that's from all of Western Nunavut to the NWT itself. And so they're sort of then magnified within Yellowknife. What additional funding would do, I think, there's the opportunity for addictions treatment centers in the North, but what comes with that is you can't just build the building. You then need the people to staff those places and to staff them over the long term. But also recognize that a lot of people also do need to go south, because a lot of people, to do their treatment in the North, then surrounded by the people they know, the people that maybe can feed an addiction and feed those challenges, they need to heal somewhere else before they can maybe return home. So it's a very complex issue, just like it is everywhere in the country. I think whether it's funding or not, there needs to be just more attention on this issue and more empathy with the people who are facing these challenges, and trying to figure out how do we work with them for what they need and not presupposing what they need. But just the attention alone is extremely important at this time.
What do you take away from FCM? Because you're going to go back to Yellowknife here in a few days, and you're going to probably try to use the best practices that you learned here and bring them back to Yellowknife. What's the one thing you take away from this conference that you can say, this is the tangible action that we can do back in Yellowknife?
Well, I think one of the great conversations I just had was walking the trade show floor there, and I met with somebody who is in the world of modular home building, and not just, the usual building in a factory, putting it, long modular home on the back of a flatbed. It was talking about modular home building that can be flat packed pieces built in communities, working with Indigenous communities. So those little opportunities that you hope to take back as new connections, in this case, somebody who actually has done this in northern remote winter communities, which often those kind of things that, when they actually know where Yellowknife is, that's always a start. And so those types of conversations, those types of connections, and then also just, the great people at FCM who I've now been able to meet face to face, so that when they're doing their advocacy, making sure the North and Yellowknife's voice is part of that conversation.
Okay, now I have to ask a very political question, but you're now the mayor, so I feel like I can ask this question.
As the glasses come off for you.
What does the city of Yellowknife get from FCM that they wouldn't be able to get from just doing the advocacy work by themselves?
Well, it's a national platform. I mean, prior to moving back to Yellowknife, because I moved to Yellowknife originally and moved away so my wife could go to school, moved back to Yellowknife. During my time away, I did advocacy work over in Ireland in the European Union. And so, what organizations like this get you is a national platform. It gets you a larger voice that is consistently in Ottawa having those conversations. So, as we talked about, we now have a very privileged position in terms of somebody who's at the cabinet table who understands the North and understands Yellowknife specifically, but that's not always the case. So prior to this, former Mayor Alty, she utilized FCM and that advocacy voice we'll continue to do the same in the short term and the very long run.
So we are now, by the time this airs, 30 days since you were appointed the new mayor of Yellowknife.
Good for you on the math. Well played.
I'm doing my math here quickly. How's it been? How's the transition from councillor life to mayoral life?
I mean, it is a full-time job, so I'm very lucky in the sense that my employer was willing to give me the leave without pay to do this for the next year and a half on, behalf of the city and my colleagues. I was deputy mayor when the election was called, and Rebecca went and ran for the federal government for the federal election. So I was doing the job sort of, off the side of my desk in the evenings, lunches, weekends. So in a sense, I now have one job, so that's positive. But at the same time, it's all good so far. It's very chill in the sense of I knew what I was getting into, and so far no crazy surprises in terms of what the job entailed. So that's a positive thing.
Did Mayor Alty give you, or now Minister Alty, I should say, give you any advice prior to you being sworn in or after you were sworn in? Did you have a little quick chat and say, what have I gotten myself into?
No, not at all. No, I think she knew that I was level-headed enough to have asked those questions long before this, so that's good. It's no specific advice, but she's very generous. I mean, she's made sure that I know that, if issues come up or, sort of historical, that I can always give her a phone call or, might be delayed. She's a tad busy now. But to know that is there is always greatly appreciated.
Mayor Hendrickson, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Municipal Affairs. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Municipal Affairs, which was only made possible by you, our generous supporters of the Cross Border Network. Your continued support and financial backing of this show makes episodes like today's possible. If you want to join the growing list of supporters, head over to the crossborderinterviews.ca website and support the show today. To stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes, don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube, and follow us on social media. For even more content and to learn more about the stories and the people we feature on this show and our sister shows, visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Again, your support means the world to us, so share this episode with your friends, your family, and help us keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll be back with a brand new episode of Municipal Affairs soon. Till then.